All right, let's go here now. So more than 200 female farm workers gathered at Stellenbosch for a dialogue during the 16 Days of Activism campaign. This comes at a time where farmers are facing frequent abuse on farms and are often left without recourse regarding GBV and economic abuse. So let's join now SABC News reporter Mariska Botha will tell us more about this. Well, Mariska, where exactly are you and what are we expecting discussions to be about today?
We are in Idasvallei in Stellenbosch in the Western Cape, where the organisation Women on Farms have organised this gathering, as you rightly said, Criselda. And it's interesting, I was listening to your guest speaking there about financial independence, and that is often one of the leading causes why women cannot break free from a relationship with an abusive partner is because of financial independence. But we're going to speak now to the Lenisha Frank, and she's from Women on Farms, and she's the program coordinator for the Women's Health and Empowerment section of this organisation. It's a big organisation that represents and speaks for women who work on farms, and they are a particularly vulnerable group when you're talking about all social issues and particularly gender-based violence. But let's speak to the expert on this matter, which is Lenisha Frank. Lenisha, thank you very, very much for your time. First of all, just put us in the loop. Women on farms, why are they considered to be such a vulnerable group?
So women are considered to be a vulnerable, women farm workers specifically are considered to be a vulnerable group because we know that women, firstly they are marginalized, they stay in rural areas where there's no access to services, where things are quite far distant, and also because of the precariousness of their circumstances specifically, they are seasonal workers. So women, farm worker women, they only work 6 months a year. So that woman automatically becomes so vulnerable because she's financially dependent on her male partner, which makes her vulnerable to domestic violence and being abused. And also we know that evictions is a big problem within and on farms, and most oftentimes it is the man who has the title deed and has ownership over the house. So that further makes women even more vulnerable.
And you are specifically focusing today on the justice aspect of when addressing gender-based violence. Why particularly this issue?
So today, as part of our 16 days of activism, our main focus is on the justice system, specifically magistrate courts within rural areas, where countless women have been either not assisted at a court, or the application is in English and they do not understand English. They do not understand how to complete the application forms for a protection order. They would just be in dismay and go back home, back to that abusive marriage or relationship or home where they find themselves in. More so, we have also security officials that are intimidating women when they do want to access courts and get a protection order specifically. And also another challenge is where security officials have become so powerful, whereby they have the application form, and you as the applicant need to get the application form from a security official, and that is not justice, that is not fair. Where are the clerks of the court? Where is court support? Where are the private rooms, the trauma rooms where women need to go and share their story? So therefore we are calling, and farm worker women are calling and demanding for justice.
Yeah. How would you go about addressing this particular issue in making the courts more accessible for women?
So for the past year, we have worked very tirelessly. Women have organized themselves in rural areas where they have had countless pickets, they have had where they have protests also. So today, as part of our 16 days of activism, we have Department of Justice here, and we brought them in here today to hear the pleas of our women also, so that we can establish what is it that they can do better and how can we assist them to help them make the process much better and bring justice for women that are experiencing domestic violence. South Africa has a high rate of violence, And what are we doing? So we're asking them, what are you doing? Women on Farms capacitate and empowers farm worker women so that they know their rights and claim those rights. So women have been capacitated so much that they organize themselves, and they will have pickets. They have had several pickets in the Dorings, in Wellington, in Paarl, and they are just raising their voices and advocating for their rights.
You are also a social worker, so you are literally on the front line of the scourge of gender-based violence. You work with people who go through this. Can you give us an example? Please don't mention names or anything, of a person who maybe struggled to access justice for herself.
There's one case study whereby a woman with disability, she has a disability, she cannot walk properly, whereby her husband is very abusive, and they are staying on a farm, and they stay so far from everything else, and the town, everything. You can imagine how far farms are from town. And she called the police for assistance this one evening. The police did not show up. The next day, she went to court. She hiked to court because she did not have any transport money. When she got to court, the security official at the court confronted her and asked her, "Oh, so what are you here for today?" That is not how procedure should be done. He asked her, intimidated her. She explained that she wants to get a protection order. He said that, "Oh, well, you need to wait." She's like, "Wait for what? I should go through to the domestic violence court." He's like, "No, he just had an attitude. He was intimidating her." He said, "Well, I have the forms." He gave her the forms. She told him, "I don't understand the forms. I just want help." He told her, "Just go to the police station." She went to the police station. The police sent her back to court, and she was so dismayed. She did not go back, and went back to that same house until Women on Farms had to come up with myself and had to assist her.
We would like to know, did she get assistance? Is she okay?
Yeah, she got assistance. She got a protection order. She's much better. She's an advocate. She's an activist herself. She's right inside there, raising a voice, speaking about injustices against women, and she is brilliant. Yes.
That's wonderful to hear. One person at least whose life has been changed. If there's one thing, lastly, that you can change about how the justice process works, particularly for women on farms, what would it be?
I would say the first thing would be to get more court support, like Mosaic. Mosaic is often at courts, so get more organizations involved in this process for women when they apply for protection orders. Specifically, you have Mosaic, so get more officers, get more organizations involved. That will also suit the process for women to apply for a protection order. Firstly, they are so traumatized when they come to court. Secondly, they are so confused because they don't know what to do, where to go, and who to speak to. Thirdly, they do not understand the process and the documentation that is needed, or the information. For instance, one woman asked, "What is coercive behavior?" Because that's in the application, and she did not know. So having more services or organizations part of this, having private trauma rooms for a woman that was raped, so that she can tell her story with dignity in a private and confidentiality, and just having more organizations come on board, but also for the justice system to really get their act together, because women are dying by the day. As we're speaking, there's a woman that is dying at the hand of her abuser, and we have to say enough is enough. It must stop.
Thank you very much. That was Lenisha Frank from Women on Farms, Program Coordinator for Women's Health and Empowerment. And I would argue that we need more people like Lenisha out there being in positions of power and helping to make decisions, to make things easier for women to access justice. As you heard there, horrific story about a woman and her process of trying to get help from the courts, and thankfully her story has a happy-ish ending. She's inside, as you heard Lenisha say there, but there are many, many thousands more who are struggling to gain access to that specific justice that Lenisha was speaking about. And that will be the focus here today, to assist these women after they had their discussion and their dialogue, all stakeholders that they invited, including the Department of Justice, social development, there's NGOs here. They will have an opportunity in the hall to engage with different sectors, speak to people and get help if they need it, and also just educate themselves a little bit better about what is available out there to assist them. But without organizations like Women on Farms and other NGOs working on the ground, the fight against gender-based violence would not progress very far. So these organizations are vital in the fight that continues against gender-based violence.
Mariska, thank you very much indeed. A very important conversation to be had today. Thanks indeed for bringing that to us. Mariska Botha, who's speaking to us about gender-based violence and women on farms and the challenges that they experience there.